Something I thought about for a while. I don't have any hobbies. I don't think I've ever had any hobbies. I've had things that I'm doing as a profession and things that I weren't doing. What was it in 90 something? I can't remember the exact year. No, it had to have been a little bit after when the PlayStation 2 came out. I started to realize the addiction of playing Street Fighter Alpha 2. Yeah, somewhere around then. Because, oh no, actually, it was possibly the regular PlayStation. Then somebody gave me a PlayStation 2 so I could continue playing Street Fighter Alpha 2. And then I started to recognize the addiction that I had to that. So I would, once a year, I would break out the PlayStation 2 and play Street Fighter for a week straight, then turn it off and never touch the PlayStation again. Because I looked at it, or looked at video games as an addiction, as a time killer. Maybe that was the exact same reason why I didn't I didn't get into the whole sports thing. Like, I don't watch sports. I play sports. I played sports with the thoughts of becoming a professional. When I was playing semi-pro football, I said, okay, well, I am going to do everything that I can to get at least a tryout. When I recognized that a tryout wasn't in my cards, well, what am I doing this for? Is this a hobby? No, it's not. My team, we won championships, whether it was with the New Jersey Rottweilers or with the New Jersey Terminators. And I started to see there was no future in playing semi-pro football. So I eventually changed over to fighting. I didn't even know that I was going down that path. It was actually happened on happenstance from being a bouncer, that somebody said, oh, you should learn jujitsu instead of punching people and messing up your knuckles with the rings that I wore. I should learn how to choke someone out. Never heard of that. Never heard of the UFC or any of the other organizations. And then once I found a school at Bama, fell in love with it. It was great. Still at that time, I didn't have the thought or wherewithal like, hey, there's a career in this. Maybe I could become a professional fighter. There was no thought in that. I was just enjoying learning. I was enjoying the physicality of it. So then that hobby eventually, really quickly, turned into a profession. I started training in 2003 and had my first my first amateur fight was in 2004. Then by 2007, I had my first pro fight. So again, no hobbies there. It's just a learning curve. Before that, when I would speed all over the place, when I had my Ford Taurus SHO, that was an actual hobby, or maybe a passion, that I knew was unsafe, and it just became normal to me for street racing. Didn't do it for money or anything like that, and it also didn't last long. So it was a normality for me, not a passion, not a hobby. I wasn't wrenching on my vehicles to go out and race the next weekend or anything like that, or taking it to the track, even though I went to the track like twice. But outside of that, it was just be done with work on a weekend, go to Avenue P behind Newark Airport, go racing over there. And then eventually, when the cops would come and shut things down, try and get out without getting a ticket or pulled over or a gun pointed in your face. So I guess you could say that was the last hobby that I had, because I didn't use it. I didn't get paid to do it. Now it's like, I know people that play golf. I know people that play video games. Like, now it is, I read the word, spend time with my family, establish my homestead. And I don't know if any of those could be looked at as being a hobby, because it's just a way of life. When I was still fighting and had different occupations where my what I put into my body, this is even before Torah, what I put into my body was extremely important, because if there was a illicit substance in my body, I would lose my fighter's license. So not even drug wise, but if I was to eat a bagel that had poppy seeds on it, I had the high potential to get blood tested and lose my fighter's license. So I had to be really absolute on what I ate, what I put into my body. Then I knew a lot of people that smoked weed or did edibles or different things like that. And even in that time, edibles weren't the big things that they are today, where there are these gummies and all this other stuff. Like, no, it'd be somebody that bakes some marijuana into some brownies or something like that. Now you have these vape pens and all this stuff where it's simplified with how you take in marijuana or THC. And I would always push it off. It's like, oh yeah, when I turn 40, maybe I'll get sparked up for the first time, because it wasn't my thing. I even stopped with drinking alcohol by 19. 19 was my peak of drinking alcohol. It wasn't a hobby of mine. I didn't go to clubs. I ended up working at clubs. So that wasn't even a hobby, to go hang out. I would just, I really didn't have free time or spare time. I always needed to better or advance myself, let alone have free or spare time to actually do something. I would go to movies occasionally when I needed to shut my brain off. Now I don't even do that. I stopped watching TV, and oh man, that was the early 2000s. Didn't have time for it. When am I going to sit down and have time for TV? It's just not going to happen. The media today, where you get to pick and choose what you watch, that was beneficial at some time, but even now I don't have time for that. I have a few favorite shows, but I'm always so far behind because I have so many other things that I need to get done. My responsibilities outweigh my downtime. So now it's like, oh, I planned to start playing video games again when I turn 50. Well, I'm 43. Next year, I'll be 44. Getting a little bit closer to there. But I'll be able to invest some time into video games. By that time, the little chunk, he might be into video games. But I don't know. I want to learn how to ride a horse, or actually a mule. One that can support my weight and doesn't doesn't spook too easy, like with a branch or something blowing in the wind and buck me off. So maybe that's where my hobbies are gonna go to. Uh, can't say gardening is gonna be a hobby because that's gonna be substance. I can never say that word correctly. Sustenance. I think I said that right. That's going to be a way of life to be able to separate from the world, growing your own food. We we have chickens, we're getting eggs. That's only one part of things. We need vegetables, we need fruit trees and all that stuff, but that's not going to be a hobby. I thought about playing golf. I don't have time for that. I said that I was going to try that when I turned 55. Seems like a old man sport. I rarely play chess anymore because I will get all ramped up and ready to play chess all the time, but then I realize that I don't have time for it. I would have to schedule when I'm going to play chess, or with these online apps, I would have to wait till 2 o'clock in the morning to be able to do the moves on all of my games, and people would get pissed off. They would be waiting for a day or two, like, what is this guy doing? So they would just cancel the games with me. I can't fault them for that. It's just the honest truth. I didn't make it a priority. So maybe that's where things need to go. If I'm going to have a hobby, I need to make it a priority. But is it worth it to make a hobby a priority? My priorities are getting closer with my creator, establishing my family's land so that whenever it's my time to go, everything will be right for them. To be able to get out of debt and take care of them, take care of others, be able to guide people through what I'm doing. Some people always talk about wanting to go off grid, but nobody really does it. People will look, and actually, I think that's what a lot of people's hobbies are. They will fantasize on what it is that they want to do, and they'll make that their hobby. Their fantasies will become their hobbies. They won't actually get out and do things. Just like when people would walk into the gym and say, I want to be a professional fighter. I could fight, I could do this and that. Like, okay, well, let's put some training in. Let's see where your conditioning is. Like, oh no, I can fight. I don't need to do all of that. Okay, well, sign a waiver and let's put 5 minutes on the clock. And I'm not going to hit you. I'm going to defend, but I'm not going to hit you. Now let's see how long you last. Like, okay. A lot of people don't understand that. How much energy it takes to put out to actually fight. Then some of them will go 30 seconds, be dead. Like, no, that 5 minute clock is still running. You said you wanted to fight, that you don't need to do all of this conditioning stuff. Let's see what you can do. Like, oh, 2 minutes in, that heavy breathing. Like, oh, it sounds like you're drowning. What's going on here? I thought you said you could fight. Is this going to be a hobby for you? Are you going to be dedicated? Are you going to put all of your effort into this? Or are you just going to disappear? There's so many people showed up and disappeared. They thought it was going to be their profession. It didn't even turn out to be a hobby for them. They just gave up. Nothing that I'm doing right now is something that I'm willing to give up. Nothing at all. Not my family, not my property, not my connection with the Father, not my guidance of my sons, not my camp, not my tribe. None of those things are hobbies for me. And that's why I stay on the grind. Still need to find a hobby. Something fun. I don't know. If you got any suggestions of your hobbies, you let me know. Shalom.